I invoke us. We invoke us. We gathered and entangled, feeling and witnessing. Evolving, we gather and entangle. We arrive and center. To world together in the deepest presence we can manage. We suspend our self-coercion under dominating structures such as time and any categories we may have been assigned to, and any other commitments we may feel bound to. We speak with the world in confidence, in trust, from ourselves, for ourselves, collectively. We world to co-create with the universe, which we meet halfway as slits of the cosmic diffraction apparatus.
Yeah, this is where you all are for me. Yay, formed. Ah, check-ins. How do you all want to do check-ins? Public or private?
Leaning private.
Private?
Yeah.
Okay,
Let's do the
it's
breakouts
private.
then. Breakout room. Okay, we'll be back if anyone's watching. BRB.
We'll be back.
Need like a be right back screen share or something.
Totally. And I join.
I want to say what shape of slit I am today. And if either of y'all do, then do it too. It's just neither here nor there, really. Um, for me, I'm a metal plate, squiggle, 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 going down like spaghetti noodle width of just kind of wavy squiggle going down the middle of it of a I don't know 18 and 18 1/8 inch thick metal plate. It's my slit.
Are the squiggly things also made out of metal?
The squiggly is the squiggle is the slit.
Oh, okay. Multiple
Yeah.
squiggles, or just one?
Just one squiggle. One squiggle going down the length of the plate. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm feeling like the pinhole of a camera obscura.
That's a good one. I feel like my slit is like my pierced ears. They're like closed up. They're like it's like a kind of like fleshy, slit that's closing up. I mean, I think they might be closed up, but they have like indentations or something. It's like starting to like close, like almost like an orifice.
Okay, cool slits.
They're cool. I'm into our slits. Very.
Yeah. Um, you
What
want
do
an
you
out
think?
loud reading group?
Yeah, let's do it.
Where do you remember where we were?
If I look at it, I can probably remember.
Is this still organization means commitment?
Yeah. Let's see.
Do you have it, Lynn?
Eh, okay, there we go. Can y'all see this?
Yes.
I'm, oh my. Okay. Okay. Is this where we did we read?
Let's
There's
see.
section A.
I don't remember the bolded parts.
Yeah. So maybe we read maybe we read the introduction.
Oh, wait, we read the introduction the very first time we read it, right?
No, because there's the introduction from 2011, and then there's the introduction section for the original one. And that must have been what we read last
Uh,
time.
oh, yeah, okay, I remember the whole
Yeah, yeah.
thing. Did we read the whole thing? Let's see. What was it called?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. We read through A.
I wonder if I don't recognize this as well. Do you, Entangler?
I don't, but I feel like we read more than just that,
Me too.
right? What is happening? I feel like this is an entirely different text.
Yeah.
Like, I think the bolding is like tripping me up because I don't remember the bold, but maybe it was there. Or maybe we
Well,
don't start it.
want to
How do
just
we
start
start it?
here?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, does
Is there
anybody want to start?
no preference? I think we do this for 10 minutes, so like 6:10.
Okay, I'll start. The role of revolutionary cadre organization. Building a revolutionary cadre organization is enormously difficult, but there is no mystery about the essential functions of such an organization. Just as the individual human being requires a mind to synthesize the many varied experiences which it receives through the senses, so the revolutionary social forces in a revolutionary period require a revolutionary cadre organization. Just as the mind acts as a center for the senses giving and receiving impulses, so the revolutionary cadre organization acts as the center for the revolutionary social forces. Neither can replace the other, nor can either develop without continuing interaction with the other. They are the two poles of a developing and dynamic relationship, continually enriching one another in a never-ending spiral process of, quote, from the masses to the masses, unquote. This dialectical concept is the key to the building of a revolutionary cadre organization. The first task of a revolutionary cadre organization is theoretical analysis and synthesis. That is to say, the cadre organization must first reflect upon the specific social realities within which it is operating, with the aim of arriving at a clear conception of A, how this social reality has developed historically, and B, the contradictions within this reality, which are the basis for further development. The cadre organization must then, C, define which of these contradictions are the principal and major ones requiring solutions if the society is to advance, and D, develop a vision of what kind of new reality will be created by the resolution of those principal or major contradictions. Finally, the revolutionary cadre organization must, E, determine which sectors of the society have the greatest potential for the struggle necessary to resolve these contradictions and create this new reality. These theoretical concepts together constitute the ideology of the cadre organization. Popcorn, whoever wants to read next.
After deriving its ideology from reflections upon the social realities, the cadre organization must devise concrete programs to go to the revolutionary social forces, masses, people, in order to mobilize them in struggles to create new reality through resolving the major contradictions of the society. In devising and projecting these concrete programs, the cadre organization must be concerned not only to increase the momentum of struggle and the physical power of the revolutionary social forces, it must also be concerned to bring about a transformation in these forces. That is to say, it must seek to increase their initiative, their critical political consciousness, their sense of collectivity and responsibility, and the structures with which they can not only bring about the collapse of the existing oppressive society, but also create a new society. The cadre organization, in other words, must be concerned not only with the quantitative, but with the qualitative development of the mass struggle and of the revolutionary social forces. It must take seriously the fact that all the people within a given society, including the revolutionary social forces, are shaped by the dominant values of the society. In the light of the revolutions that have taken place all over the world in the past half-century, beginning with the Russian Revolution of 1917, anyone claiming to be a revolutionist must be willing to look beyond the question of power to what happens after the taking of power. Hence, they must be concerned not only with increasing the anger and militance of the oppressed, but also their determination and capacity to transform themselves. Otherwise, willfully or not, they are not only preparing the oppressed for despair and hence for the leadership of demagogues, but they themselves are not a revolutionist, but a rebel or a demagogue. Popcorn.
I can read it. Oh, I was trying to heart Phantasma's message. Heart it. Done. At the same time, the cadre organization is also providing the framework within which the cadre members themselves can be constantly transforming themselves into more conscious, more responsible, more creative, and more critical human beings, to whom the revolutionary masses can increasingly look for leadership because they can recognize in them actual living witnesses to the possibility of creating new men and women or peoples. If the ideology of the cadre organization is sound, if its program meets the needs of the revolutionary social forces, if the cadre themselves are in a close and continuing relationship with these forces, then the revolutionary social forces will begin to struggle around these programs. In turn, these struggles will bring about new situations involving new contradictions and new conflicts. This means that the cadre organization must be continuously prepared to reevaluate its ideas of the social reality and to devise new programs to take the revolutionary social forces, thus constantly deepening and enriching both their ideas and their relationship with the revolutionary forces. The cadre never lose sight of their primary commitment to the revolutionary cadre or organization. It is a center from which they go outwards and to which they return. It provides a framework within which they can be continuously reevaluating their theory and practice and continuously transforming themselves so as to be better able to live up to the historic task for which they accepted responsibility. Is that what Rev School is? Are we the revolutionary cadre?
I wonder.
Popcorn
You
to.
said
Oh,
you said we go till 6:10? Great.
4 minutes.
Okay.
Anyone want to read? Well, Phantasma said that they were just kind of working. I don't know if
Yeah, I want to
people-
open up. Sorry, I need to move this so it doesn't block us. Cool. I'll pick up. B. The American political background. The difficulty in understanding the role of the revolutionary cadre organization does not stem from any intrinsic mystery in this role. Rather, it stems from the lack of experience of Americans in the political process of continuing commitment to this kind of systematic, collective, dialectical, theoretical, and practical struggle, which is at the heart of a revolutionary cadre organization. For historical reasons, the approach of most Americans to social has always been a pragmatic or problem-solving approach, which is essentially anti-intellectual. In what has been described as the, quote, headache syndrome, unquote, they react to and try to resolve every problem which arises as if it were a sporadically isolated or accidental problem in a system that is fundamentally sound and therefore capable of quick and easy solutions. In the recent period, confidence in the soundness of American institutions has plummeted, chiefly under the impact of the revolutionary struggles of Vietnamese people and the revolt of blacks. The result is that a great many Americans, black and white, no longer think of American problems as isolated or accidental. They have traced their roots to the system of capitalism and racism and concluded that a revolution is necessary in the US. They have further identified the chief revolutionary social forces to make this revolution as the blacks and other non-white so-called minorities. However, for the most part, these people still strongly resist the ideas of committing themselves to the kind of collective and protracted struggle in a dialectical relationship to the revolutionary social forces outlined above. They no longer look at the problems of this society in a piecemeal fashion to be solved one by one, but they still regard the revolutionary struggle as a series of isolated events, quote, happenings and experiences, unquote. The result is that they do not have a framework within which to do the continual evaluation that is necessary, and their angry actions on the system turn into abstractions and rhetorical denunciations. Popcorn, whoever. Popcorn Splash is muted.
Always on the go, attracted to whatever or whoever turns them on. They jump from one activity or group to another, judging the revolutionary content of that activity or group by its militancy or by the excitement and relief which it offers from boredom and frustration, i.e., quantitatively and subjectively. In the past few years, white youth, rebelling against the materialism and individualism of their middle-class parents, have been drifting in and out of communes and collectives. They claim to be seeking collectivity, but they are unwilling to make the long-range commitment to any group, which is the prerequisite to collective struggle and collective learning. As a result, the collectives and communes springing up and disappearing all over the country are little more than aggregates of subjectivities in which each individual is still doing his or her own thing. These young people have substituted for the pragmatic anti-intellectual attitudes of their forebears a new anti-intellectual attitude, which is the unique product of the post-World War II society. Raised in a world of unceasing novelty and mobility, of revolutions in production and abundance in consumption, of instant communication and spaceship transportation, they have been culturally deprived of the experience through protracted struggle, which has been the good and bad fortune of every previous generation, if only in the productive arena. As a result, they have an existentialist philosophy or the conviction that life consists essentially of momentary experiences. It's time.
Nice. It's getting good. I like it.
Share screen. Okay, we're on the last paragraph of page 11. Remember.
Oh yeah, you know what? I'm gonna put that in the agenda.
Oh, smart.
Where did we leave off again?
The final paragraph of page 11.
Cool. I like that the out loud reading group. Good. Okay. Updates and announcements. They're very quick. The tiny health. Okay, I have not done that. I haven't done. I still have to do that. I will reach out to Nine and Saffron to confirm if they still want to do it or not. I will do that. And now that we have this like break, I can do that for sure. So we will no TFT until October 1st. We'll have a month off of this as well. And so but in between them, we are going to have a TFT radio show with Splash as the new host on September 15th. Yay. Also, Dr. Brouhaha and Phantasma, if you ever want to join the TFT radio show, please do. Let us know. It's every third Sunday of the month from 6 to 7 Pacific time. I think it's yeah. And we just like log on to Zoom, so you can also join that way too. And that's all the updates and announcement, like specific TFT updates and announcements that I know of. But does anyone else have any? Okay.
No.
Cool. Okay, so one thing that I think I described it in the email. I'm not sure if you read the email, but the last TFT, it was Lamshift came and made an appearance, but it was mostly me and Tectonic, and I also had like a headache that day. It was like okay, so I'm gonna preface like that, but like when I was trying to explain like diffraction, like and a diffraction apparatus, all of a sudden I could not do it. Like I could not, or I couldn't do it in an easily kind of understandable way. Like it was all like convoluted and Baradian and like blah. And then I was like, wait, I don't even fucking I can't even explain it. So then I was talking to Lamb Shift afterwards and being like, oh, maybe that could be, an exercise or activity that we could do to help us with this description that we've been working on for like so long. If we can how would you, so the prompt would be like, how would you describe diffraction and diffraction apparatuses to someone new to TFT or someone who doesn't know anything about diffraction, specifically this Baradian diffraction? I mean, some people might know about what diffraction is, but I thought that might be something we can try. And then Lampshift was going to facilitate another diffraction apparatus kind of activity with those verbal kind of descriptions. Or it could be, I don't know, you can also like draw a picture too as well.
Yeah, and also there's maybe it will more be just a discussion. We'll see. Because my thoughts developed in a certain direction and I'm curious about it. I'm curious about the direction that my thoughts went in, and I don't know if other people have a particular answer to that question that they want to be engaging with diffractively with everybody else, then cool, we can do some of that. But then if not, we can just have, I don't know, it can be less structured than the other diffraction things that I've facilitated.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
What? Yeah. Mhm.
No, what do you think in Entangler?
Oh no, I'm just like curious. I mean, if you have something prepared, that's fine. I just was curious how people even describe diffraction. like I was like, well, I was having a hard time like being like, what is diffraction? And I had to like look at the notes and then kind of like skim the chapter and be like, what is this diffraction?
And why does diffraction matter to us? Like,
Mm.
like, what's the, why do we care about what diffraction is? That's a question that I want to add on to that I'm like curious to hear y'all's thoughts on.
I feel like I can answer that question better than what is diffraction.
Really? How would you answer
Yeah.
that question? Why
I
do we
mean,
care about diffraction?
the way that I talk about it is directly, yeah, it's directly from broad in terms of like an alternative critical practice that is in like reaching from or like from representationalism and reflection as a critical practice. And like I feel that in our kind of world and our relationships and everything and how we communicate, it's heavily based in representationalism and reflection. So then, Barat in that specific chapter, the chapter 2, diffractions, I forget the full title of that chapter, but they were kind of making comparisons with like representationalism and reflection with diffraction and performativity. So then the alternative for representationalism is diffraction. The alternative to reflection is performativity. No, I'm sorry. The alternative reflection is diffraction. Alternative representationalism is performativity. But that does nothing to give information to people who don't know what those things are.
Yeah.
But the reason why I like it is because I feel like it's a way for us to kind of breach the 5% universe representationalism and yeah, have a different type of relationship and scripting that is more kind of attentive to the the ever-changing specificity of configuration of bodies, apparatuses, material discursive practices that give meaning or whatever, or an experience or world something, or create subjects and objects and stuff like that.
Mm. Yeah, one thing that I struggle with is like if I can't explain this in a way that like I'd be able to like talk with my neighbor about and they'd be interested in, like be like, oh yeah, like that matters. I'm like, then does it actually matter? And
That's right.
so, but then, I mean, there's a part in the Boggs piece just now that we read that was a little bit like, like, and that reminded me of something that Pat McCabe said, where it's like just trying to like problem solve and see things as problems to be fixed. Because where I want to like dig into what like the answers that I have that are like kind of drawing on Karen Brad's language is like, yeah, but like what's actually wrong with like the reflection based or like what is it, reflection and
Representationalism.
representational, like why do we need to fix that is like the question that I know how to get deeper at that. And I do think I both like agree with that. That is the line of questioning that I want to do, but I don't know if like if that's misguided.
No, this is like literally mine and Tectonic's debates and arguments the entire time
Yeah.
during our visit. We would be in like restaurants and bars, like arguing over this. Because he had this similar question, like, what's wrong with representationalism, or what's wrong? Like, 'cause I kept saying it's a dominant thing, and he's like, dominant. What's the other alternate? Like dominant, like dominance to him implies like there's other things, other like what is it dominating over? Da, 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 da. I mean, I have my kind of response to that, but I've also been just talking a lot, so. Okay, I can share while people are thinking, I can share what I share with Tectonic, which is I think I locate a lot of I locate like identity construction and like categorization and like this scripting into nouns as like nouning things as rooted in representationalism. Like there's a part of me that definitely like blames representationalism for it, but just like everything, nothing is like in itself like evil or horrible or harmful. It's oftentimes it's entangled with some kind of intention or like some power or something that's been used towards specific peoples or whatever. So I don't think I've like trying to change the way I talk about it and not be like poo-poo like representationalism is bad. It's just like there's an overabundance of it in which then it becomes like naturalized. So then things like the scripting of identities, for example, I think I and maybe I'm also trafficking in representationalism by being like putting all like totalizing representationalism and putting it all on representationalism. Um, but I do think that like how Barad kind of describes representationalism as like the belief that the representations that we script, like words, concepts, and stuff, accurately reflect or mirror the things in which it's supposed to represent, as opposed to like it's creating the thing, like and that we have more access to the representations than we do the thing that is representing, and that we traffic in representations rather than the thing. And then the representations then become real, right? That's why we have like these stereotypes of like based on IDs that people then believe are truths and then base nations on them and wars on them and stuff. So I think the reason why I think I locate a lot of violence in it, I think, or like the like all past historical kind of violences in representationalism.
I'm really stumped by how to tell your neighbor that it matters. Hmm. I had a funny experience sometime in the last couple of weeks where somebody asked me what I did my master's thesis on in my computational linguistics program, and I realized it was a diffractive analysis as I was talking about it. I was like, well, so I take like two near synonyms and like I find the differences between the context they appear in to like show to really bring out like here is what is distinctive about this word and here's what's distinctive about this word. And so like the effects of difference like define like helping I was like, oh, that's diffraction, cool, all right, all right. Uh and that is still I think the best thing to hold on to. Like sometimes I've also tried to talk about ripples in water and like the wave interaction, but it's not where was it? Oh, I was at Universal Studios a couple months ago. And like in the water show there was this bit where like these two wave generators started pulsing just like these like giant ripples, like like 50-foot wide things, and they slowly like crept closer to each other, and then they started diffracting. And that was really fun. But it doesn't answer the question for your neighbor. Like, and I think there is something maybe like simplifying about diffraction in that it by just looking at the effects of difference, like it's sort of like it allows the sameness to it allows you to disregard the sameness, or it allows you to sort of take as a given the sameness and just look at the differences. And so there's maybe some kind of analytical efficiency or simplification to it. Um, Although that doesn't sound like something that I'd really want to like defend to the death, just because also like how the whole fits together is important. Like just because these two, because two apparatuses have the same elements, like the differences might have a different effect on how that element performs in the functioning system also. So it's I don't think you can only look at the difference really. And I guess that's the thing. Like you can't look only at the difference, but seeing the effect of the difference is information that you need that you can use.
Is part of the like framing it to a neighbor and there's something wrong with the fact that our ways of analyzing things typically don't or like don't attend to the difference or something like. And I'm like, what does diffraction or diffractive methodology offer? Like what is so important or like what's so important about it? Like how it lets us engage with difference that like otherwise day to day when not doing when interacting in this representationalist classical worldview we're like not doing and like it's like our loss. Yeah.
I can raise my hand. I got the answer. I just like looked. Oh shit, didn't mean to do that. I also just looked at while Splash was talking the dictionary definition of diffraction. And I think, and Barad also talks about this too, but in the dictionary definition, it talks about like it's like the waves or whatever as it passes through an aperture. So it like as it like kind of hits or interacts with some kind of either like it's another wave or like some object or something. And so the diffraction happens when the waves spread out or they like intersect with the other. And then so it's always in the it's diffraction is a result of its interaction with some other thing. So I think like why it's like I think what important is because it gets us to like when in representation we just look at the end result, like the pattern it makes or something, right? And then we look at the pattern, we're like, oh, this is the pattern, or like the subject that's produced, and we're like, this is the subject, and like and then but we don't we're not like conditioned to always consider the thing that is passing through and what it's hitting, you know, and that being what we pay attention to, not like the end or like what it produces, but like how the structure was part of the production of the thing that, you know, the image or whatever, as well as another wave as well. And then we're like, oh, there's also this thing, and that, oh, this body's different from this one. So then it gets us to the differences that Splash is talking about, like, oh yeah, this and this and that. Yeah.
The I wrote down we get stumped. I'll get stumped about something, or I'll get stumped about how a meeting, how it like group dynamic is. And I'll be like, oh, well, fuck, that's how it always goes. Or like, oh, well, that's just how it is. And that's how it feels. And that's what it does. And um, by recognizing the aperture part of it, that like it went the way it did because of a certain set of circumstances or a certain because of the apparatus, that means that it gives some wiggle room to change it to then make it what we want it to be. And so one of the reasons why it matters is because it shows how much things could be, how that it's possible to make things really, really different or
Yeah.
something.
That's the most exciting part. One of the most exciting, like it allows like, yeah, like it's like, oh, we can change this.
We can
Oh,
change the apparatus and that'll change the phenomenon, maybe, or that
yeah.
sort of thing.
And also like our emotional states now that I'm thinking about it, you know, because I'm like just thinking about like what I just shared in the other room, and I'm like, oh, this means that. And now I'm no longer you know, and it's like, and then I get all upset, you know, instead of being like, oh, well, it's because, you know, he had this other thing going on, and that's maybe why that the response time was, you know, like not getting the attention that I had before. And that then it does emotionally, like it does, like it's like, oh yeah, okay, maybe it's not that maybe it's not what I think is happening, or this like script that I solidifying. So I think it also helps emotionally too. um That makes sense.
That's another one of the things from the out loud reading group that we came across today of like these young white kids like only wanting to engage in stuff that feels good for them and like excites them. And she gets more into it later too, which I was it felt like a fresh and relevant uh point to be making in 1970s and in 2024 and got me thinking like I don't know, it gets me like a little bit critical of like feeling good while doing the things that we want to do. She's kind of like commitment isn't about feeling good all the time. It's about being committed to the thing. And I don't know, it'll be interesting to see how that agrees and doesn't agree with each of us as we read it.
Totally. I had a similar feeling. I was like, wait, I do things because they feel good. Okay, am I one of those people?
Yeah. Yeah. Is there more to those questions that we want to that y'all have thoughts on? Both like how you describe diffraction and also like why we even care about doing things about the diffractive way or the performative way. I do
like
wonder, like, go ahead.
Oh, I guess it's just like another example of like kind of what we're talking about, but because I think performative, like when people are like, oh, that's so performative, you're being performative, that person's being performative, it has like this negative kind of connotation to it, like you're not being authentic or like your true self. And I think that is a result of representationalism in which like again we're taking like the image or like the noun subject, and then placing them in some kind of value, and then they're that thing and they can't ever not be that thing, as opposed to like performativity, like how you're saying, like we could track if we paid attention to like the platform in which they're, sharing this thing, their kind of emotional state, their fears and desires, along with like the contextual, like all the contextual information and all that stuff, it would probably make sense. It makes sense, meaning like it would actually be true to that thing. So therefore not performative in the way that people are using it as being like not authentic or something. And then that would allow for us to have different relationships with each other. Um, Instead of being like, you're this thing and now I have to cancel you or whatever. Like,
Yeah, that one it's really that's really hard for me because then I like do that to my I like direct that to myself of like I'm always a performance and I'm always performing a certain way and I could like I don't know, it kind of pulls the rug out from under me in regard to like a sense of self and like knowledge about myself. And then there's something that has happened sometimes in the past in Thinky Feely Tank where there where like a thing that has been discussed is like how much choice we do have, like recognizing that like, oh, I do have a choice in this situation and I'm choosing like I often have a lot more choice than I recognize I have in like what I'm doing right now. And so, but sometimes that feels like really, really crushing to me. And sometimes it feels really, um, like a really helpful route out of the like, I'm having a hard time put words to this. Just like that, like everything is a performance gets kind of existentially like overwhelming.
Mm.
Mhm.
Were you gonna say something, Splash? Or
Yeah, I'm thinking about how the everything is a performance. Um, um, it's interesting. Color ID says it's justice for renters locally, which actually is so intriguing. I'm going to answer it just to find out what
Okay.
it is.
Oh.
Hello.
I
I
love
really
that.
like seeing that.
Yeah, totally. That's great. I'm curious when you say like it's existential or like everything is a performance,
Yeah.
based on a specific idea of what a performance is, or like how performative is kind of like already kind of like has this negative connotation, like oh, you're not supposed to be performative. I wonder if is it have a similar does that carry over to performance in general as being like not real or not? Um,
No, it's like it leads to this obsession about crafting this crafting and performing the self that I want to be or that I should be. That's the thing. That's the thing. It's like that run. That's interesting. It's because it's different. That's interesting. It's not inherent to like it being a matter of like, oh, there is no authentic self. It's always a performance in the context. But it's about instead this like strange like American culture obsession with like self-improvement or like perfection of the self.
mm-hmm. Yeah. I
And
do
that
like the
whenever those overlap, it's really terrible.
yeah. I like the choices thing because I love that because it's something it reminds me of like something my Kai Wu, the somatic coach I was working with, she would say that to me often, like when she'll like offer something or like say some, offer an alternative. She's like, I'm not, what you're doing isn't wrong or bad. I'm just trying to give you more options. And I think maybe that would be a good reason why diffraction, because it does offer more options, more choices, as
Mm.
opposed to like, oh, this is how it is. That person's performing at the end, or this person's that. I'm this. They're doing that. And there's no wiggle room. So I like that
Mm.
as a kind of like thing that we could share to our neighbor and be like, but how explaining how that works, I think is like the trick. And
Yeah.
I also want to put like there's also other uses of the word authentic. This is what Tectonic and I were talking about, in which like authentic could be also used to kind of mean in a within a diffractive kind of like entanglement that like authentic is how you emerge when you're attending, like when you're like kind of like uh it like saying the things you want to say and doing the things you want, asking, the kind of like the liberated relationship thing, and then that being the authentic, not that it's like the real self, but that you are like really actually present and attending to all the different things. And then and then while also myself and my kind of like desires within it, and being in the capacity to be like radically honest within that. So I know that authentic is also used in that way too. Um,
Yeah.
how is that
I'm
felt?
looking up the definition of authentic just 'cause I'm curious.
Well, now I am too. How is that? How is
The
that?
call was a robocall.
That call a splash?
It was a robocall, and it was
Authentic.
inviting me to a phone town hall happening now about something, but I'm more interested in this town hall. The thing I was thinking about was how like diffraction is like third or fourth or fifth on my list of like important things from Barad, and how like the I think the agential realism, which I still can't fully, which I can explain even less satisfactorily than diffraction, but the fundamental idea that like which I think the thing that I would say to a neighbor about that is like,
Uh-huh.
every scientific answer we have like was in some way predetermined by the question that was asked to get there.
Hmm.
And um
I
and
love
so
that.
like all of the knowledge that we have, like it's not that it's not true knowledge, it's just that like it is bonsai in this way that makes it just take this particular shape. And like the authentic, organic, natural shape of the bonsai tree like is different, would be different. And like that to me is one of the more essential things. Like that's the thing about it, the performative nature of knowledge that is important to me. And so I guess, and then I guess if we get defective about that, then like the difference between a tree growing without being pruned as it's growing, and the tree that you get by pruning it as it's growing. That's performance. Like that's I guess that's even kind of what we're trying to explore. We're trying to say like what is it? What have we cut away in the through these agential cuts to bonsai. I should get it. I've been wanting a bonsai tree. Um,
I love that you verb that bonsai. What did Splash? Did you write down what? I mean, Lamps, did you write down what Splash said about the question? What did he say? Like the question predetermined? Like,
Scientific knowledge being determined by the questions that were asked.
yes, I love that.
I don't know if do you want me do you want to put that as do you want to say other words than the words that I just said
no,
backsplash?
that sounds like what I said, and I'm happy to leave it at that.
Do you want to say anything else about the Barad things that you're like, oh, that are like higher on your list than diffraction even?
I was curious about that too. Does it tell us your broad list?
Um, I have to get the paper book out.
Ooh, it's an actual.
I mean, I do think that's well, it's so that I think the other thing about it is the other aspect of agential realism, like I guess it's the meaning of the universe halfway apart. I guess it's the idea that like okay, I just said that the answers are predetermined by the questions, but also like some notion that hmm, that's not in broad, but the idea the idea that that the universe wants to be known or something. Um, I find that hard to argue, but like, oh well, yeah, I guess in the table on page 89, the pre-existing determinate boundary between subject and object, um, versus it's the thing that reflection offers that diffraction doesn't. Knowing as a material practice of engagement as part of the world where it's becoming like, yeah, I guess like the universe, the world always becoming through our agency is an important thing.
Mhm.
I don't- mm,
I like
yeah.
that you brought up the meeting the universe halfway aspect because it is like it's like a oh it's also this specific part of the conversation is making me think about like what other things are like I think it does will make us more responsible as like more accountable like more attentive to our how we are actually part of the scripting so that it's not like oh that person did
Uh,
that like no I'm also part of that too how am I part of that um
Yeah.
um, Okay, I think this is a good time for me to bring up a thing that's been on my mind. Is that okay? Does that interrupt anything? Okay, so Robin D.G. Kelly talked about this organization called Left Roots.
Yeah, yeah.
Left Roots was a time-bound codification organization founded in 2013 and sunset at the end of 2023. It was founded to transform two major underdevelopments in the movement: a lack of grounded revolutionary strategy and a lack of strategists who could carry out and synthesize that work as part of mass struggle. And so they've sunset their organization last year, but there's this now the effort is called SOS, and strategy is one of the words, and I don't know what the rest of it stands for, but SOS is what he referred to during Socialism 2023, and I haven't gotten as far as learning more about like what SOS is doing, because I'm pretty sure that what SOS is it's like the result of a bunch of people over the course of 10 years learning like doing intensive leftist strategy development, and then having chapters across the country and trying to like then feed and build like very strategically engaged leftist revolutionary leftist socialism. And so what's really exciting to me is that Left Roots archived all of their materials at UMass Amherst. And so you can go and visit and get like all of their documents and meeting agendas, and also like their website, which was archived, and then a bunch of recordings from videos. Or you can email them and say, hey, I'm in Arkansas and I'm interested. Can you send me this stuff? And they'll send you all this stuff. And so I've been going through and digging through, and it's so neat to be like engaging with this while also like engaged in Rev School. And like this question of like how things get archived, and then also just reading their they have it's such a different tone than, you know, Rev School kind of drag performs what Left Roots I think was doing. And one of the things that kept on coming up is like, you know, they're like training methods, and like they have a boot camp and like teaching people strategy, and like this form of like workshops that I've engaged in other activist things, where it's like teaching you the concept through a workshop, and there's a presentation and then there are prompts and you engage in the workshop. And I was like, I wonder about that, but for this, but for teaching what diffraction is and why diffraction matters. And so I started putting together a presentation called From Classical to Quantum Worldviews. And
Yes.
and maybe it could be an interesting basis for like RevCon, or slash also like for clarifying, slash also if it's ever relevant as like a preface for us engaging in something like a diffraction apparatus. I think it could be. I'm kind of interested in it, and I wonder how it's gonna feel whenever I create it and share it with y'all.
Oh,
If it's gonna feel like the sort of thing that we want. But then I'm like, I don't know, it's kind of fun.
oh my God, yes. And that sounds
Yeah.
amazing. So it's like a workshop that kind of kind of like based off like these workshops of this other group, the SOS group, or that like gets people to kind of like the move from classical to quantum, like kind of
Yeah,
like
let me give you a layout of what the presentation is, of what my
oh yeah.
how I'm gonna do the first draft of the presentation.
Oh my God, you should definitely
So
present this in RevCon, because like you can, how like Tectonic was explaining how unconventions work, like you can,
yeah.
yeah. So cool.
Um so yeah, I think so too. And the thing is, I'm like, there's something in in my takeaways from our conversation about just Baradian stuff that like that this is going against, like the mode of like having a presentation about a thing and about why a thing is important for some reason feels like anti thinky feely tanky mode. And that's the thing that will be interesting. Really, I think that'll be a really, really worthwhile thing to engage in, danger room or whatnot.
Totally. And also, I also see there's a value to it. I mean, there's also, this is what kind of like Tectonic was kind of like emphasizing it. And what I agree with too, which is like, well, that's also how we communicate right now. You know, like it's the dominant means in which we communicate and kind of understand each other and like, so that there has to be some use of representationalism because that's how we, at least for now until we go.
And this, I guess, is one of the things like in the last rep school discussion that we had, where it was like what our projects are and what we get grants for. It's like how do we the way that we go about, or the way that rev school has gone about things, or the way that we collectively want to go about things, like is it important for it to be distinct or different than like the leftist strategy, like workshops and teaching and stuff, leftist strategy bootcamp mode. Anyway, can I give that? Could I give that outline? Could I give the outline for this presentation? Yeah.
Can I record it? I totally forgot to record. I know that it's recording on YouTube, but it'd be nice to have this part at least recorded. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna do that right now before you start.
Okay, so here's the draft outline for the presentation from the workshop From Classical to Quantum Worldviews. So first we describe what Newtonian physics is, which is, this was me totally pulling stuff out of my brain without citing my sources. Newtonian physics is that like they're God's creations, God set these laws, and that science then discovers the laws that are part of that are how the world works. And that scientists' objectivity and their accuracy comes through logic and a controlled environment. And through Newtonian and classical physics, certain theories have developed and we use often, such as theory of gravity and electrical fields, for example. And then there's quantum physics. And quantum physics is a general category for many different areas of study, learning about dynamics that are not explained by classical physics. Classical physics explains some dynamics like gravity, and then there are also lots and lots of dynamics that aren't explained by classical physics. And those are the sorts of things that are explored under the science of quantum physics. And that Karen Barad is the author of this book, Meeting the Universe Halfway. And what's important maybe to mention is how Barad talks about attending to details, science being specific to the phenomena, like what Splash said about like the knowledge, or wherever that thing that I wrote down was. And then also a feminist definition of objectivity, I think is a helpful thing to note about Barad. So we'd introduce Newtonian physics, we'd introduce quantum physics, then we get this example of the two-slit experiment by talking about the classical physics distinction between waves and particles. And then explaining that the two-slit experiment showed that classical physics did not actually accurately explain waves and particles. And so that could be the way that we contextualize like two-slit experiment and apparatus and diffraction, or that's the way in this presentation of explaining those things. And then zooming out, talk about what you observe about the behavior of light in the example of the two-slit experiment might be quite different than light in another apparatus, which would also be very different of the behavior of light, for example, in a forest or when you're driving in your car, right? And so that's a way to hone in on this idea that the knowledge that's produced in one apparatus might not be true to other contexts. And then I think where then what I want to outline from there is like, okay, and so why does this matter? You know, like that's the way of explaining like the scientific basis and what we're drawing on from Brad. And then it's like also like why this is part of the revolution. So more on that later. But it was the challenge of like being like, how the hell to explain this without using these technical terms. And it seems like coming up with this structure like gave me a little bit more hope that like it is possible to explain this stuff and then maybe explain its significance, even if its significance is kind of a sham too. Like I'm like, how much of the significance of this stuff can be arrived at without going the route of quantum physics and meeting the universe halfway? Like, couldn't leftist organizing boot camp meeting arrive at the same like hurrah call to action like strategy without going the route of quantum physics? And the answer might well be yes. I think maybe at least in like an early draft of this presentation workshop thing, like might not be able to get like sharply at why to go the route of like Karen Brad's like framing through this. That's always a question that I have. But then it's like, oh, then at very least this can just be another method of like, I don't know, like a fun performance and workshop to like energize the revolution, you know?
No, I love it. I think it like even just listening to your structure, I had all these thoughts or like things come up. It like helped me to kind of be like, oh yeah, this like one way to like be able to tell our neighbor. Like I thought it was super helpful when you gave the different examples of the light in different, like in the car, in the forest. So I'm like, oh yeah, we need very, very specific examples, like that are like in the everyday that we can use. Like that, I think is a way to be able to like make it interesting or useful or whatever to our neighbors. And then also I'm like, oh yeah, because that was also the question, I guess, I don't know who mentioned about like why do we need to go the quantum physics route? I feel like I've heard that before. And then I feel like so then I'm like, oh, maybe it would be helpful for us to be able to kind of like research and list the other modalities of knowledge production or whatever that is saying a similar thing, which I think there are many. I don't know, like how people talk about mindfulness, for example, or something, or like the somatics is like, because it's all like things that are somehow attending not just to the output or the end result, but is also attentive to like system, like in like entangled, or like I don't want to use entangled, but like interlocking systems, or like anything that kind of does that, and also I think could be a route to go. Like we could. I think it's also useful to say that so that people are like don't get stuck in like why are you all science people? Like why science obsessed people, or like because science has been scripted as very separate from the everyday, and like to use that. I know for me, my interest in the quantum physics is because I feel like the change needs to happen at the ontological level, at the very basic, like what is the nature of being kind of question. Like, like for example, like the performance, like, oh, like why do I have this feeling about being performative or having to perform? And there's some kind of ontological kind of like belief around performance that is like somehow not real or something. So like, and so focusing on the science to me feels like it's getting to that, the ontologies or something.
when I have this same sort of like but why get at the ontologies via Baradian framing of quantum physics than via mindfulness or via semantics, or something like that. And then one of the things that comes from that for me is like, oh well, one of the like hurrah like outcomes of like the workshop and presentation can be like, so anytime science, classical Newtonian science is used as like justification for that's the way that the world is, or that's the way that things are or ought to be, then we piss on that. Like that's what this is. That's one of the fundamental powers of this presentation and why it's about shifting from classical to quantum worldviews is because it shows that like the classical worldviews are not just like fact. And so whenever that's an opponent or whenever that's something that we're up against or that's like getting in our way or that's worlding in a way that is doing a lot of harm that we want to stop it, then there's that too.
Yeah. I mean, it's making me also think about like, yeah, like maybe it would be helpful to diversify references, so that it is like it's not like only quantum physics, but it's like quantum physics was I think we were trying to do that with the TFT and stuff like that, and bringing in like, like NChem and then Pat also. Oh yeah, because there's like also like many people make connections between like the quantum and like indigenous, like worldviews too, so there's many, I think, different, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from a certain, sorry, did you have more?
Oh no, no, you go.
It's just like, there's so much in feminist science studies that talks about the standpoint predetermines the answers. That's not even a Brownian insight exactly. That's, like that all kinds of critical science studies are saying that. And so on one layer, Barad's contribution is just saying like this is true of quantum physics as well, right? Like they're saying like it's not quantum physics is not this like separate kind of science that like is more empirical or like because it's tiny particles it's more true or whatever, like all of the same stuff about apparatus that applies to you know measurements of the circumference of the earth or like gravity or whatever else like also applies to quantum stuff. And like so don't almost in some ways they're saying don't think of the quantum discipline as a thing that is separate from like even though it seems completely desocialized, dehumanized, like just on a tiny scale, like all of that stuff is still in the makers of the apparatus. Um, and so and those are I think the really crucial things to be talking about with people, like to understand how we can world in different ways by seeing how narrowly we have been worlded.
Damn, that's it. You're coming up with the good lines. That was a good line. Yeah, it's like, yeah, that's the point. It's like to show how narrowly we've been worlded. It kind of aligns with the options too, giving more options and like, yeah. I love that. Yeah, like the quantum is just like Broad's contribution is like applying like, feminist science studies or whatever to like the quantum.
Mhm. Mhm.
I love that too. Yeah.
I met up with a like friend from middle school and learned that this person, oh, by Dr. Lee,
Ah,
haha.
thanks for coming by.
And this person is doing quantum field theory topology in grad school. And I was like, oh my God, cool. I have this great opportunity of eating at a restaurant with this person and us having not so much to talk about to then just talk a lot about how this person get what quantum field theory means to this person who's never engaged in Karen Barad or like heard of Karen Barad. And it was like gauging like, okay, what things are like part of like one thing that he kept on saying was that like quantum field theory like has nothing to do with us. That it's like on this tiny scale and that it's like many of like quantum field theories are like abstract and like don't actually affect us.
Mhm.
And this is maybe my first time like talking to somebody who actually like does quantum physics or like does quantum engages with quantum science worldview. But like we were not coming at it from the shared place of how Karen Brad talks about it.
Yeah, that's another one of Barad's contributions is saying because Barad would say in their book
Uh-huh.
that there's no quantum realm. There's not like this micro and macro realm that like things happen in in a special way in this quantum realm, and they don't like they're saying like the same laws apply. They just can't be like measured. Like we just don't have machines that are big enough or whatever that can measure what the quantum activity or something. But that so that I think one of the other contribution is like collab like saying that the accountability part, like that we are always part of it. Like there's no separation, there's no, and then that, that brings in Denise Ferreira da Silva, who like talks about the three pillars of modern thought that lead to total violence, like separability, sequentiality and determinism, now I'm thinking about, Vanessa Machado de Oliveira is like, like, so there's many different, yeah, people we could be referencing and talking about, which we do as well. But that's like that, see, that is very interesting, right? Because there's two people who work within quantum discipline, as Flash said, with very different worldviews, like, and that I think that those worldviews have very different ethics meaning like the doing, right? Like, and I think that's another contribution abroad to is like that, like putting the ethics back into the science, where it's like, a lot of times science is like, oh, it doesn't, it's separate. I don't have to worry about that. I think Matrix actually even said that during the, his talk with Splash or something. Um, yeah.
What are you referring to with that?
Oh, I think like,
Oh, I remember now. Whenever Splash and Matrix did a presentation.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I think Matrix even said that, like, oh, that's not I don't have to think about that, or like that's not part of, yeah, my job or what I consider to be part of. I'm totally paraphrasing. This is not exactly what he said at all. It's just like, but I'm saying like that's a common thing within science, so where people have that attitude or worldview or something.
Yeah.
There's definitely a part of me that like gets very suspicious when people start separating now after like being influenced by all these people being like, what do you mean it's not part? We have nothing to do with it. Also, it's just in the fact that they're scripting about it automatically makes them a part of it by describing it, doing research on it, doing.
Yeah. Oh, what's the check what
Which
Savis?
goes, which sorry, I just say one more thing before you go, which brings it back to the whole like one of the defining factors of representationalism, meaning that the belief that the words, concepts, our ideas accurately reflect. So this person is like, maybe
Uh,
I'm accurately reflecting what's happening in the quantum field, because it has nothing to, I'm just like observing the facts or something.
uh-huh. Rather than like that's scripting and that's performing reality.
Yeah, you are
Uh-huh.
scripting it, the
Uh-huh.
quantum field, whatever quantum fields. Um, and you're not like accurately reflecting its authentic self or something. Or it's sort of, were you gonna say something, Splash, before I interrupted you?
It was just it was on the Matrix topic, kind of. My one of my favorite podcasts, Tech Won't Save Us, is going to be doing a series on data vampires.
Whoa.
What is
That's about
this?
that in the material impacts of data centers, how AI hype is fueling build out, what's wrong with the future. and why stopping these data centers would be a key struggle in Focus decided technological path. Starting in October looks neat. I did listen to the whole Elon Musk series on a drive at one point on like 2x speed because I couldn't really stand to listen to it in detail. But it was good muckraking.
Well, you have that knowledge base in
Cool.
you. Ask you about that series.
Yeah,
I don't know anything
did
about
you
that.
successfully download it into your knowledge base by listening at 2 times speed?
No, no, not really. It's actually I just had a conversation with my partner about like where she was citing the study where like they like compared people who listen to things versus people who read things, and that the readers all did better on the listeners enjoyed it more, but the readers were better at being quizzed on the material. And it's like, okay, but what about when I'm reading and I'm not even like processing it. I'm just moving my eyes over the words and nothing's coming out. Like I feel like the readers in that study must have, you know, but must have really been paying attention. I don't know. But
There's a difference. That's like the assumption that the readers are all doing it the same or reading it,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
What are you thinking about for Thinky Feely Tank Radio Hour?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, Think about readings. Thought about readings. Just doing like a. Actually, I thought about even just having the show be called Danger Room or something, where we're reading from stuff. Reading from Angela Willie's Undoing Monogamy, reading from Joyful Militancy. Maybe maybe with some ambient music underneath
Yeah.
to chill the vibe. Um, yeah, that's about the most concrete idea I have at this point.
That sounds good.
Yeah, maybe I can just call it "Welcome to the Thinky Feely Tank Radio Hour Danger Room."
I wish that you could communicate your lighting right now in that too, because that would be really great, but it'll be radio.
Yeah, it's odd. I'm surprised that I'm getting this. Oh, it's the purple behind me really doing it. Oh, let's see.
Oh.
I'm gonna be visiting one of my siblings. I'm gonna be in Colorado now.
Oh,
Mm.
And I'm driving up there on the 14th. And so I I hope to at least be able to tune in. But I might not even be able to tune in, but I probably won't be able to be present. Just a heads up.
Mhm. Mhm.
On the 15th, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah. 15, yeah, 15th. Yeah, a little less than 2 weeks.
yeah.
Mhm. It would those readings happen at the same episode or the like multiple
I think
readings of
so.
multiple people
I
or
think just
okay.
sort of hopping around, but yeah, yeah. I guess any work would be to like find a common thread or something. But I don't know. Do you have any thoughts? How to sequence or how to like what else how what kind of want I would love to make it a little bit of a magazine format of different kinds of
Oh.
ideas. Oh yeah, actually I collected a little bit of I should find what the voicemail was I recorded on my trip because there's some like cicadas and crickets and
Hmm.
some of me just like talking about stuff. I have so many voice memos that I could use.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
That's kind of fun.
If it's like now I'm imagining a layering of because you're talking about the ambient kind of like some sound, so it's a little less, or like more kind of I don't know. I forget the word you you use, and then imagining like that so that the reading will be over it, and then now after you talk about these recordings that you've been doing, like thinking about that either being interjected at parts or overlaid or underlaid or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I'll have to play around with that and see which of these memos I would even want to use. Like, most of them are me high, spouting off these ideas, and I don't. I mean, could be worse. Could be worse than just putting that on the radio. But
You're not allowed to be high. It breaks FCC regulations.
Wait, really?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I just like that.
For some reason, I had this funny a vision of like us being on the radio. So like we're reading, and then there's like the kind of music underneath it, and then we have these like like choices of like recordings of you that we can respond to. Like I don't know, like these like you select sections of either sounds like field recording sounds or like you specific parts of you talking that we have like it's like they're like buttons we can push to, like to as a response to like some of the readings or something that we I don't know why it's like came which like you're reading something and I have a response and like and I can respond with one of your recordings like as,
mm.
as commentary or something.
Yeah, a little soundboard would be fun too. Just like some get some little clips to play. That could be really really goofy fun. Okay.
That was just the thing that popped in my head, but I liked it. Mm. This conversation is very helpful. I feel like way more like equipped to answer those questions.
Yeah, I like this going into the little hiatus.
Yeah.
How is um oh did we would it are y'all into it all? Do we need to have a plan for what our meeting in October might be like?
I was just thinking that, yeah. Because after a long break, it might be like hard to regather or something. Remember what we left off of or something.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should figure that out here now before we leave. I mean, we still have the task of, I mean, Phantasma's here working on the website.
We can do a website reveal, Fawn
Oh,
says.
wait. Oh.
What
Say
was that?
it again. Wait.
Say it
Sorry.
again.
I'm short on Wi-Fi this month, so I'm like streaming it from my phone. We're fine. Yeah, let's do a website reveal. I'm really excited about. Oh, I just figured out this fun little button trick. Do you want to see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a design element, but it's kind of fun. Okay, cool. Beep,
Okay,
beep.
I'm gonna also I want to come in with a description for us to work on
Nice.
too, or something. Or all of, I don't know. We've tried this before. We come in with descriptions. I don't know if it'll work again, but oh, I think you're frozen. Phantasma.
Nothing.
Oh yeah, your internet, I think is because now you're frozen. But I can see your screen. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you, Entangler.
And
And Fawn, we hear you sometimes make little internet sounds. Oh no. I gotta run to the bathroom.
Okay. Yeah, I think fun is like totally frozen now.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I think they're back.
Uh,
I think you're back. You're back.
But am I unfrozen? Am I back?
Yeah, you're
My
unfrozen.
phone didn't like that.
I think if you turn off your video, it might help.
The nice slow motion though.
My phone hated that.
Well, also I'm just noticing your chain link like necklace collar leash
No,
thing.
y'all are frozen too.
Oh no.
Yeah, I tried. I tried. I'm like I said, it's just my little iPhone doing the most. I'm surprised it could even run Zoom and Wix at the same time. It crashed the first time I tried, but then I was back.
Damn, that is
After
impressive.
I rolled and yeah, it's real chains, Home Depot, rope and chain section.
Ah. How far does it go down?
But thank you. Yeah, it's just this cool. I get paid next Wednesday.
Oh no.
Oh, I was gonna say, got a little S ring. Could show how heavy it is by dropping it, probably. Do we like that? I did.
We didn't see it.
I take it off when I go. You didn't see it?
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, okay, so go. So wait, oh, okay.
This is how
And
heavy it is.
how do you hook it around? How do you
Holy
hook it?
Jesus.
Yeah, it's real chain. I literally went to the rope and chain section and I was like, perfect. I would guess like 23 links. 1, 2, 3, 4. I remember it being like 17. 6, 7, 8, 10, 15, 16. It was 17. I was overcompensating.
Wait, is it hooked on? Does it have a clamp? Did you have it draped around your neck, or
It's literally just an S click, an S link, so it's sturdier. I can change the dimensions
Yeah, nice.
based on what I usually wear the leash. That's how I like wearing it the most. I have like a nice choker that like a Vitality one that my sister stole from me, so she still wears that all the time. So I got myself this one.
Nice.
Also, you would like this. We're also a pup bar. So a lot of the bar backs are pups, and there's like a really cool like pup community. Yeah, we have like our main bar, Can Harry's, the historic one. And then we have our like Kiki dark sidebar, which is like where the Go-Go Boys hang out, and like it's like closed off for those. But yeah.
Nice.
So yeah. Not to be another trans mask and a pup mask, but like
Nice.
Yeah.
Yay.
But website, we can revisit that. I could do a proper show and tell. And yeah, I really want to use this time to just really wrap that up for us. And also maybe like seeing those things. That's why I was like, I kind of wanted to show you right now, but I was like, I guess I can't. Just like a mock, and then this cool button trick that I figured out while I was listening in, which I'm so glad I did.
Yay.
Yay. It's really nice. Just listening, you know?
Nice. I'm glad.
Yeah. So if I can't get iPhone to do more than they're already doing, then we'll just revisit in October. Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next we're taking a big break, both with Rev
Yeah.
School and TFT. So the next TFT be October 1st, and then last year was because we're like, what are we gonna do in our next meeting? So maybe part of it could be like a website reveal.
Yeah, a big part.
Specifically the TFT web page.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
and then I think we still have to come up with a description. I mean, you can put filler words in there for
I'm gonna look in there. I'm gonna look and see what we got and work with it. So
and then
see if there's anything.
Yeah.
In addition to the website reveal, can we come in? I do want to give another shot at the description based off of all this stuff. I don't know if any Splash and Lamshift of you are interested in that either, but if you wanted to, but not Nando, but you know.
I gave it a shot describing our diffraction time, and I did not like the way that it was going. Just in terms of, I was like, what if we describe what Thinky Feely Tank is by describing the phenomenon of that specific diffraction practice that we did of describing what Thinky Feely Tank is? But then that just took up so much space. Took so many words, would have been such a long paragraph that I didn't like how that was. What could Entangler Splash Fondue could if during the website reveal, Phantasma, would you put in just word? You were like, oh, I mean, there's probably stuff there, and I can figure something out. And so, could it both be a website reveal with like with stuff there based on what we have, and then also in addition to that, we also have a discussion about what Entangler might bring if we want to get a little bit more into the weeds of describing Thinky Feely Tank differently.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, just keep me posted. And y'all can, I mean, like, even though we're on like on break, you know, I'll be working here on the side. I have Mondays and Tuesdays off. So those are like usually work admin kind of days. If anybody wants me up about anything, or even just like get together outside of the hiatus kind of moments, you know.
Cute.
I'm around. I'll be working. I'll be here.
Do you ever hang out in the gym space? I went there one day during work. Whatever that gym space is from some project that maybe it was not relevant, was not related to rep school, was it?
No, it was an independent project. It was for a free school that I did, but it was, it's still active. You can still hop in there. Sometimes I do. It's been a while. So usually when we talk about it.
Okay. I went there. It was fun.
That's cool. That's really cool to hear. Thanks for sharing. I'm glad you went. I hope the gymnasium treated you well.
Yes. Let me see if it works. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that good plan, Entangler? Does that sit well with you?
Yeah, that sounds great. I put it in the action
thing. Okay.
For the we're gonna fucking do this, and then we're gonna fucking do the thing. Then instead of examining the stick, we're gonna use the motherfucking stick. After this, we're gonna use the stick. No more examining the stick. I mean, I think we're using it too, but you know, on ourselves and on it. Is that some kind of diffractive masturbation? Maybe.
Activation.
Using the stickers?
Yeah, using the stick on itself.
I said that. That was great. Ebert. That's my cat.
Cool.
Ebert.
Ebert.
Cute.
Hey.
Cool. That's a good ending.
Okay.
Masturbation. And the stick on itself.
Yes. I'm gonna.
Thanks for watching, YouTubers.
We'll be back in a month with more masturbatory diffraction sticks.
Very good. I'll get back to smoking my hand-rolled cigarette. That was a cigarette. Bye.
Oh, wait, let's close out. Let's close out.
Oh, okay, we can close out.
Wait, okay. There we go. We are undiffracting, or we're unentangling.
Okay.
Ready? There you go.
Everybody got somebody?
Yeah, got someone.
Okay.
Got someone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Doop.
Okay, here we go.
Nice. Oh.
All right. See you in a month.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.